Welcome to this incredible express introduction and today effective workplace communication. The benefits of effective workplace communication are to ensure that your audience understands your intent in your communication, leading to greater engagement and buy-in to your ideas and needs. Effective workplace communication is a huge topic. Many people make their careers around various roles in communication. However, what we're going to focus on in this short introduction is really what I believe is the cornerstone of effective communication, and that is to understand and be able to adapt to different communication preferences and styles. It begins with understanding that the intent in which you want to communicate is not always received as the impact you want it to your audience. In fact, you can almost guarantee that the intent of what you want to communicate is always misunderstood at some level by the audience receiving it. Knowing that, then you can build bridges between the intent of what you mean in your communications over to the impact that it has on your audience. There's a simple process to that, starting with being clear about labeling your intent and then clearly registering the impact that you want it to have with your audience. This is a simple first step to improving effective workplace communication. There have been thousands of studies into workplace preferences and different styles of communication, and there are hundreds of different models around that can help you identify what your own working and communication preferences are and the working and communication preferences of your colleagues. We can use a simple model though as a starting point to understanding what the different communication preferences are and then adapting our own communication style so that we can better meet the communication needs of our audience. Simply, our 4 different work preferences that we're going to focus on here is first of all creative, interpersonal, procedural and logical. Creative, big picture, holistic, very artistic and often intuitive. Interpersonal, good people relations, good feelings, emotional and empathetic. Procedural, detail orientated, good planning, organising and very sequential in thinking. And then the 4th, logical, analytical, everything based on facts, clear, decisive, quantitative thinking. Example. How would the different preferences go about buying a car? Well, my wife bought a car just the other month and she phoned me up very excited from the dealer to tell me that she'd just bought a car. I asked her what car she had bought and she answered, "It's red." And it took me a long time before I actually found out that she bought a Renault. She is interpersonal, and for her it's much more about if the car feels right and comfy, if the staff were friendly, and will often take on board recommendations by a friend. For myself, I am very logical, and so I will always go about identifying the needs, comparing different performance criteria, understanding all of the costs, maintenance and sales value, and I will always ensure that I test drive it and understand how the car works before I buy a car. Now, I also have a good friend who's a musician, and he will always go for the most sporty looks in a car, and he'll always try and get the latest innovation. So of course an electric car recently is always willing to take a little bit of a risk in terms of the car he buys. I also work with a lot of project managers. I have a really good friend, a project manager, recently bought a car. For him, it was all about the planning. He managed to find a car from another country and he worked all of the planning of the import details in because he could get a better deal going to another country and importing the car from there. So there you go, a quick example of how the 4 different communication preferences will go about buying a car. Now imagine if my project manager friend sat down with my musician friend and tried to explain the best way to buy a car. The two would just not be able to communicate effectively with each other because one would be talking about the planning, the process, the details of all the features. The other would be much more interested in just the latest innovation, how the car looks and its image. Understanding our own personal preference and then adapting it towards the audience will help significantly improve the level of engagement and understanding that your communications need to have. And that was a brief introduction to effective workplace communication. Thank you very much for watching.